I'm now.
Okay. Well, hello. We are
Hello.
right now, and first of all, in behalf of the Adhocracy curatorial team, I want to say thank you for the IRAC and Free University group who has engaged in this adventure of 3 days, like a marathon of sharing knowledge, sharing living knowledge. So this is very important as a part of the core and the research we are doing in Adhocracy. So thank you very much, and thanks for the invitation to moderate this roundtable. For now, I think we are still waiting two guests,
Okay.
but we have
One guess.
one guest.
Alberto's just joined us.
Who is here? Okay, let me see. Alberto. Okay, so we have now Ciudad Alberto from Ciudad Escuela. I will say the names in the same order that are below so that people can see who you are. Alberto from Ciudad Escuela, all the team of Free University. Then we have Ismail from the Silent University, Isaac from Campus in Camps, and we are still waiting for the Public School for Architecture in Brussels. So I was like preparing an introduction, but I think that it can be more productive for the people who is following that you briefly introduce yourself and your practice. So after that, they can understand the difference and the similarities along the round table. So please, Alberto, can you start introducing Ciudad Escuela, please?
Sure. Okay. Ciudad Escuela, which in English would be translated as roughly as the city is school. We are a sort of an alliance, a coalition of. Well, it was funded. It was launched 2 years ago by a couple of grassroots or guerrilla architectural collectives. And sort of someone who would identify himself as a hacker, and then a couple of anthropologists, and I'm one of them. And when we launched the project, it was we built it because for about 3 years we had in our various capacities we had been involved in numerous grassroots urban projects which have been taking place in Madrid, and we realized that there was so much going on in Madrid and in Spain at large, and so much learning that that we felt we needed some kind of instrument that allowed the communities with which we worked to learn from each other. So you know, so we ourselves participated in numerous projects, but there was so much going on that we felt that many of the projects we participated in didn't know about other projects we participated, and vice versa. You know, so lots of people doing very interesting stuff, and they didn't know each other, and they had lots of things to learn from one another. So we figured that there was space to create a platform, in this case a digital infrastructure, where people would just upload or kind of tell their own learning stories, and in that way liberate the kind of apprenticeships, the kind of learning that their particular community projects were mobilizing, were just being sort of liberated for others to learn from them, to appropriate them, etc. And because we, all of the people that are involved in the project had been strongly aligned with the free culture movement, the open source and free culture movement, we thought that the whole architecture of the digital infrastructure should be open source. So that's what Ciudad Escuela is a digital infrastructure that allows different community projects to explain, first of all, to themselves, but also to others, what they identify as their learning capacities, their learning itineraries, and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you very much. So following this idea of connecting different communities, different project and experience, I want to invite Isaac to present Campus in Camps. Please.
Hi, thank you very much. Basically, I mean, just briefly, Campus in Camps started in January 2012, and it started as pretty much an experimental education program and sort of a laboratory for new forms of representation about refugee camps in Palestine, particularly in the West Bank. The project itself, or the program itself, it was founded by two architects, Sandy Hilal and Alessandro Pete. And basically, what they wished is pretty much to sort of engage participants from 5 different refugee camps in one place in which they can sort of create an environment that we can learn from each other. Our main vision is pretty much to produce new forms of representation about camps and refugees beyond the static and traditional symbol of victimization and poverty, because for most people, when they hear refugee camps and even refugee, they tend to think that, you know, it's sort of a space that consists of tents, space that or sites for humanitarian intervention and so on, right? But for us, that's not how we sort of perceive that space. That's not how we recognize the space, because after 66 years or 67 years of living in the exile, there's a new culture emerge, and the spaces are pretty much socially and politically are very active. So for us, there's space of knowledge. So we started as 15 participants, and for us, the main thing we stopped at, which is very relevant to today's talk, is knowledge, because we came to understand that as Palestinians we are subjected to different types of occupation. Let's say there's the physical occupation that is pretty much manifested by the war, by the occupier himself, by the tank, the uniform, you know, all this like visible thingy. But also there is a hidden occupation, which is the occupation of knowledge, which is pretty much much more toxic. So for us, you know, like the first 5-6 months, we started like to establish a common language and a common understanding, and we allowed ourselves to go through a process what we call the unlearning process, which was pretty much hard, to be honest. From that, of course, we came to sort of produce something we call the collective dictionary, which is sort of small booklets that contains terms that we define based on the experience of the self and the experience of the camp. And in this sense, you know, we looked at knowledge as something not only theoretical but rather practical. It has to be sort of practice. And yeah, this is pretty much a short introduction about
Thank you, Zach. And I want to invite, because this project defends the right to share knowledge and to learn. But as far as I know, the Silent University also defends the right to educate. So I want to know if Ismail can briefly explain the aims and the approach of the Silent University, please.
Thank you very much. I'm just greeting all of the participants from the all around the world. And yeah, if we're talking about the Silent University, the Silent University is the platform for exchange knowledge for the refugee and the asylum seeker and the migrants. And it's the platform to reactivate, because if we know that in Europe, or the most of the European countries, when the people they come with the refugee, for example, they doesn't get time, or they doesn't get the opportunity to learn more, or maybe to get a job and to do some activities. They just stay home, or maybe they come and they do nothing. So the Silent University, they just give the second opportunities for those people, and to reactivate what they have been done and what they studied, and the capacity they have it, So we have two things, the consultant group, and we have also the lecture group. My friend also, he's the one of the lecture group in the Silent University in Hamburg, and we have been done our first public topic, and it was quite very interesting because the refugee, they get the exchange to the community, and they also do some kind of sorry reactive yeah, so my so and reactivate. So what they do is like we give the resources that they need. We give the hall, and we invite the other communities, so they get time to exchange with the community, and they learn more, and it's like there's no jurisdiction from the law. So the Silent University is it's some kind of that platform. And in Hamburg, we established in September 2014. We have a lot of connection with the refugee and the asylum seeker and the migrant in Hamburg. And I would like also to work with my friend Abimbula. He will more explain what he feel about the silent first and what the first subject he has been done before. So welcome, please.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah, so he already said almost what we do at the Silent University, and as he said, like Silent University is an autonomous platform for all the refugees who have a good educational background from their home country, but they cannot continue because of their poor illegal status in Hamburg. So, and Silent University try to reactivate their knowledge. We bring people together, and the knowledge they have back in their home country with the materials we have at the Silent University, we put it together and we support individual with the knowledge they have had from their home country to continue the skills and the ability they had. And I think Silent University also was initiated by Ahmed Hugo, and we have satellite campus in Stockholm, France, Paris, and also in London. And I think he also came here some months ago, and the Silent University also, we have been trying to have a lot of connection, as my colleague has said before. And I think January this year also, as one of the lecturer of the Silent University, I had a public presentation about the slavery in Nigeria and in West African country. So it has really been very nice, and we have different kinds of participants. Though we don't have the regular participants, but sometimes we have the people who are regular, and we also have some people who are still more interested, and we also have some people who are really giving us support, like the people from Germans, and we are still also moving forward. And I think sometimes also we also have a kind of workshop, internal workshop for the refugees and for the community of the Silent University. So at the moment, this is what we practice, and sometimes also we get a lot of invitation from artists or from artist groups. They invite us sometimes to come and explain who we are, and sometimes also we also have invitation from the private school, from the university, like we should give some presentation about what we teach and about who we are. So this is what we do, and we are being really trying our best to really reactivate and to bring all the refugees who did not have the opportunity to continue their education because of their illegal status in Hamburg Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, I want to invite Free University, who, for the people who start following now, they are the initiators of this wonderful 3 days experience. So to present themselves, and I think in the forthcoming hour we will have time to know more about this experience, especially, but also about the previous experience that have evolved until this way of online and physical exchange of knowledge. So please, guys, if you can introduce yourself briefly.
Yes, hello everybody. Well, we can talk about our project, the Free University project, which, well, we started talking about the Free University concept 4 years ago, but we set up a real cycle of lessons and talks in the last 2 years. And the first year trying to set up everything with looking for the right topic, the right themes, and then in the last year, in 2014, realizing for real the 6 lesson that composed the cycle of the university project. We started from our situation, our condition, the condition of our university, of our academy. We are all architects. We are mostly all architects, and who studied in the Polytechnic of Milan. And we started from the condition of our academic system mostly, and we decided to investigate some topics, some themes, some concepts which in our university are not treated at all. For example, always talking about architecture, but in a more social way, in a more from a point of view more connected to our landscape, to our territory, and to our cities, not just talking about buildings in general, but also using different tools and trying to investigating and developing different discussions and debates about other issues, other problems which are related to our cities, like, for example, the concept of major works, the concept of the housing rights, or the concept of the exploitation of the territory. And those topics were composed the list of the 6 talks we developed, and starting from the main concept, which was learning from the mass. Learning from the mass, which was the topic we decided to use this concept, this phrase, this expression, learning from the mass, starting from the experiences of the Occupy movements, the Indignados movement, and the Arab Spring, because we thought that exactly from those movements we understood and we saw the strong will of the people to wanted to express themselves, and they wanted to do exactly in the public space, with the reappropriation of the streets, of the public space, of the squares. And so one of the fixed things, the only one fixed thing that we decided to have was to develop our talks in the public space, in the open air, and to also reach and get the biggest number of people that we could reach. Yes, and Salvatore now can maybe talk about a little bit more about how we set up and how we structure the Free University project, and which are the concepts at the base of our Free University.
Yeah, I think in general we talk about urban commons, and when we talk about urban commons, it's not about common usage, but a common purpose, new way of commoning, new way of put together people doing real public, new way to relationship. So I think that one of the first, the most important aim of the university is to reach a popular education, to take education away from the hands of the expert, and to try to return the education
into the hands of the citizens.
So we learn from the mass, but doing doing the lessons on the street and on the squares.
To the mass itself.
We just want to return something to the city, and this is I think the hardest part of this research, because it's easy to do a research in our rooms, but doing it on the street is the hardest part
of the work.
Organizing every time this kind of events, and one of the most important things of our research is that cross the disciplines. We say always issues, not disciplines, and this is the first part of our name, interaction between the discipline.
Because IRAC stands for Interaction, Research and Architecture
in crisis context. We did these three statements of our free university a posteriori, because when we started to do these lessons, we were ignorant about pedagogy. So this 3 days event is important for us to study what we did, but before we did these three statements. One of the first one is that the Free University is made from rebel students and ignorant schoolmasters. So, quoting Jacques Rancière. So everyone has the same responsibility to develop and to produce knowledge. It's not teachers that teach something to the others, but a community which
talk and debate
we talk and debate about some issues.
Because we think that one of the most important aspects of new forms of pedagogies, like for example the one we are trying to develop, is that we don't want to set up a monodirectional conversation. The teacher who talks to the students, but try to invite different realities about a certain topic, a certain themes, crossing over different jobs, different aspects of those, and trying to debate and develop a common conversation, trying to reach maybe a result, but at the end the result is not so necessary. I mean, the most important thing is let the people talk, let the people debate in a multi-directional format.
And in a critical way.
And in a critical way, because we don't always... Sorry.
No, that I think this point, sorry to interrupt, but it came the crossed references about the creating links, and how when you introduce different practices and different topics into the discussion, I have seen that a common link between all the 4 practices that we have now is the relationship with the politics. And we have been living since the protest in Chile 4 years ago, and this year we have seen protests in Amsterdam, in Paris, related to academia and this need of change. And also I think that now, you may have seen the news of the past 3 days, we are living a very special moment in Spain, and also related with adhocracy. We have also lived a very special moment in the political context in Greece. So I wanted to ask Alberto, who is from Spain, how they approach, or which is the vision of Ciudad Escuela regarding the relationship between politics and education and citizenship and participation. Because in Campus in Camp and in the Silent University, we see the link with the political very close through the refugees and asylum seekers, but also in the urban context. I want to know a little bit more about the vision of the Ciudad Escuela project. Alberto, you have been mute your.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
So I would say that we have three. We could situate the political in the practice of Ciudad Escuela in three ways. One is the way we use technology. So we are very explicit about the use of open source tools. So the whole the digital infrastructure of the Escuela is open source software, and the badges that we use, which would be the kind of the pedagogical toolkits, they also have to be open source. So the educational itineraries, the educational programs that communities develop must be open source. So they have to use Creative Commons licenses if they upload audio, visual content or textual content, etc. So that's one way in which the political gets expressed is by the endorsing a particular conception of technology. The second is by actually letting communities decide what is an apprenticeship. So we don't. I mean, it's about communities having to reflect what's their own learning processes and how they want to communicate that learning processes to others. And of course, that's there's a big pedagogical question there. When not all communities have reflected deeply about their own pedagogical practices. Many times, so say I don't know, urban community. We've been working very closely with Madrid's regional network of urban community gardens, right? So there are 42 urban community gardens in Madrid, which up to 6 months ago they were illegal, and they're in the process of legalization. And one of the things they've realized in this process of legalization is that there are lots of very different experiences of what it means to tend an urban community garden, and there could be lots of very rich communication between the 42, just in Madrid alone, the 42 experiences. So we've organized a number of workshops where the Madrid's regional network of urban community gardens came together and said, okay, if we were to put together a sort of an educational program as to, how can you, so to speak, how can you open up your own, what are these issues and stakes in opening up and taking care of an urban community garden? How would we do it? And of course, it turns out that question, how would you do it? How would you communicate to your own communities, what it means to organize an urban community garden is not at all an obvious question, right? And there's a lot of things that need to be explicitated, lots of learning that in the process of explicitating those questions, the communities themselves go through. So that's our second sort of political state, positioning is like, when communities have to empower themselves as communities of apprenticeship, that there's a huge there's a huge complexity, pedagogical complexity that comes to the surface. And the third political positioning, which is just built on this second one, is that for us, the relationship with the city, we want to bring to the fore the idea of apprenticeship. So, for instance, we think that in every space of politics has an imminent question of apprenticeship. So rather than, for instance, oppose, you were mentioning that there's a huge, or there is the potential of a huge transformation in urban politics in Madrid and Barcelona and a number of other cities in Spain because of the municipal elections that we had 2 days ago. Well, we are of the opinion that the relationship between community, citizens' initiatives and community projects in the city and the administrations, City Hall, and so on and so forth, should not be framed in antagonistic terms, right? There's no, the state and grassroots projects are not necessarily antagonistic. What they need to do first and foremost is try to understand the learning itineraries, what brings them together as communities of apprenticeship. So that's what we want to unpack. We want to open the black box of what it means to learn the city. So that would be our third, political, the third landscape of political intervention and action that we would position ourselves in.
Thank you, Alberto. I was also listening very careful to Free University presentation, because as the creators of this event, I think that we can grab a lot of links from their approach and their vision. And a very important thing that I found is the mention of the ignorant schoolmaster, which links also with the concept of unlearning mentioned by Isaac. And also it links not only with Jacques Rancière, but also with Ivan Illich and his book, The School in Society, and all this process that has also connections with the political, of course. So I wanted to ask you, Isaac, how is the process of unlearning? It's difficult, how it is diverse from one refugee camp from the other, which are the most difficult things you have faced, and also what have you learned as campus in camps, as the institution, let's say, somehow what have you learned from the camps and from the community?
So we start. Oh, okay.
Isaac, the microphone.
Isaac, the microphone.
The microphone.
Isaac,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. You can hear me now. Yeah.
Now, very clear.
Yes. So it's a very important question, and definitely it was not an easy sort of experience at all, because simply, I am 27 years, and at that, let's say when I was 25 years old, and you realize how much deceived you are, how much sort of imposed knowledge that been imposed in you that is not related to the environment you come from, that is not being produced by you. It's something a bit tough in the shoulders, let's say. And to be honest with you, on the personal level, I always thought to build something is much easier than to unbuild. But with the experience of the unlearning, I came to realize how it's the other way around, let's say. And what's really important is, first of all, that we all recognize that each person is a source of knowledge, and each person is a source of meaning, right? And the same thing applies on the refugee camp, right? And this was the challenge, because, and this is something I came to touch by the brief introduction by the Free University, right? Is we as a humans also oppressed people, let's say, we internalize the oppressor to a major extent, and that is something that is very, very important to look at, and to look at the camp as a source of knowledge, as a space that you can learn from, was very important and also very challenging, especially if you come from Palestine. And I do not know how much you guys are aware of Palestine and sort of the existence of all humanitarian aid organization and their role, and even universities itself. What I wish to talk about is perhaps, to answer your question, we can look at the definition of campus in camps. Because when we say campus, I believe most people would refer to, or sort of, refer to universities campus, right? But in Arabic, we say Jama'a fil Mukhayyam, and Jama'a pretty much means university, right? But its literal translation in Arabic is a place for gathering. So basically, you speak of a space that has no hierarchy, that people meet together and learn from each other, right? There is no sort of control, there is no competition, there is no winning at all, right? And this is the main distinction, I would say, between campus in camps and dominant university, because pretty much dominant university or like knowledge in dominant, the definition of knowledge, let's say in dominant university, is pretty much used in the word of consumption, right? I mean, you are marked in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in camps, you just share your own experience. You give yourself the space to reflect on your life, to articulate your future in relation to the past. And this is something, because, you know, we speak about refugees here, us, right? And there is this sort of struggle to return back to the origin, right? And this is very sort of problematic in the case of Palestine, because, you know, even refugees look at refugee camps as sort of sites that were established not to last. So it's very much temporary, right? But I mean, you cannot recognize it as a site of knowledge and then say that it doesn't have to last, or shouldn't last, you know? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's very sort of, it contradicts itself. So what I'm saying is, like, there is also some sort of struggle with the community itself, if you know what I mean, with ourselves as well.
Okay, thank you very much. This connects very good with the next question I have for the Silent University, because I have seen that you have a manifesto, like 10 points of action, let's say, and one of them, and one, in my opinion, one of the most important is the right to decolonize pedagogies. But also at the same time, in Silent University, with the aim to support asylum seekers and people who doesn't have the right to teach, you are supporting a certain accreditation, even from the own land and the own territory of the people in the group. So how you combine this right with the accreditation of being a teacher in your own country, and then try to develop and share this knowledge in this new field that Silent University offers? How you combine and how you evolve from this step to the next one to make more open knowledge exchange?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think in this concept, what we really try to do, we don't really go so much on the level of accreditation. What we more focus on is individual ability to deliver the skills that he or she has back from his home country. And we focus on see, like, if there is an individual that maybe is an engineer, and we also try to really support such an individual with the knowledge that he has. You understand, the little thing he could still remember, the little topic he can develop on the engineer aspect. So we support him, and we don't really base our system on accreditation system or policy. We base it on just to give such an individual, you know, a kind of support to reactivate and to exhibit or to execute his skills, and that is what we do. And we could also manage this through some of our consultants, like Ismail. I think some of them, they already have like masters, has a lot of experience in educational system. So they give them a kind of support in some area that they need to give a presentation, how to outline their presentation, and in some other people also who also have some knowledge, because in this area we are not really critical looking into the accreditation. We are so much focused in the ability on what they can really deliver from their past knowledge they had back from their home country, because these are the set of people, like maybe they have already lost the illusions of their educational background. So it will not really good for us to really go deep on try to make them really feel that we really want to know how how their credibility are really high or whatsoever. So what we really focus in just to reactivate the little knowledge they had and to really give them the hope that they can still continue in their education, in their skill, and we can also see that we have been trying to be more successful in this area because we also have a lot of consultants consultants who are really supporting these people. They were very open and they give them, like support, material support, moral support, and also encourage them where they need sound language key to give the presentation. So this is little I can really say about.
So my friend is just tell the all of it, and I like to add some important thought. We give the people, not only the people who was already joined to the Silent University, but we also give the people, the asylum seeker and the refugee and the migrant, a chance to get the workshops. Like we do our bias anti-racism workshop, and then the topic comes from the person. So we just only do development and more support. This is what we do. And then we give them to develop what he just say, and then we a little bit restructure it, and then we just give him more links and resources that he can maybe go directly to the topic. So it's like a win-win approach. He learn it because he just say it, but we develop with him with the good shape that the other people can easily digest. And then the person can develop himself, and he can also get further education and further researches, and maybe it can be a good reactivation what he have been learned and what capacity he have in country, his or her country. That's exactly what we do, and it's just open, and it's open for everyone. The refugees, that the people who was at the moment asylum seekers, and their process is still ongoing. And we also have people who was maybe the 30 years in Germany, and who he also do a further education. We have also the doctors. We have the people who was almost 30 or 25 years in Germany live, and also do a lot of different activities. We have also the asylum seekers who are still on the process. We have people that he doesn't entitle it, like a group called La Medusa in Hamburg. And also we have some refugees. So it's a multi-culti platform. And it's everywhere.
Thank you very much, Ismail, and yes, for the clarification. I think it's very important because it really gives a meaning to the concept of the emancipated teacher, and also the theories of Jacques Rancière that Free University were mentioning before. So, but also connected with this notion of emancipating knowledge and free exchange between teacher and a student, and also the student can become a teacher. I think nowadays we have more tools than we have ever before to share and exchange knowledge. And I want to ask Free University if they can explain how they use these tools as a repository for their research and also for sharing knowledge. For example, now we have this Hangout, but they have been saving all the previous activities in the story file. They use Facebook, Twitter, all the channels. How to avoid this overflow of information and concentrate and really make a productive exchange of knowledge, having all these tools we have now nowadays. Can you talk a little bit about that, please, Salvatore and Luca?
Yeah, well, for sure, these tools are super powerful. I mean, we can use technology and all the social networks in a very powerful way. And exactly in these days we are trying to use them to spread and to present all the activities and all the material we are collecting. And well, when we developed the Free University project, in reality, we have to be sincere, we have to be honest, that it was quite difficult to follow everything in a physical way, and then follow at the same time the development of the talks and the class and the lessons also in the social network, because we had to think about so many things, and it was, in reality, in that case, was very difficult, and we are still learning how to use them and dividing our strength and our power, our forces in different channels, the physical part, the social part, and presenting everything on Facebook and so on. We have to admit also that we are understanding, we are seeing in these days that we are having a great response, let's say, from the public using the social network. And for example, just basically Twitter, presenting the main topics with just some tweets, and it is something super interesting. And also because nowadays, thanks to technology and broadcasting, we can present the physical class we gave during the Free University cycle of talks, also in streaming. We recorded them, so it is something, is a sort of knowledge, a sort of debate, a sort of meeting that you can watch and follow also in 2 years from now. I mean, it's something that remains, and this is one of the most important things. I mean, all this 3-day event, it's something that we are doing it now, but if we want to retake something from this discussion in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, a posteriori, we can do it, and we can understand how also these topics are changing, have changed in during those years, trying to understand also what we have done in a better way and how we can develop in a better way what we have done. I think that we don't have to think that we, with this event or the Free University cycle, the Free University event, the Free University project, sorry, we have reached a fixed point, a final point. I think that also the Free University project, maybe, I don't know if I'm wrong, maybe Salvatore can add something else. I think that the Free University project is more, we can see it as also as a process of creating an aware consciousness, talking about us and talking also about the people that follow us and that can follow us in the future, or that have followed us in the past. So just to sum up what I said, that for sure the technology and all the social network are very powerful, are very useful for this aim, but at the same time we have to use them in the right way, in the right manner. Because, for example, when we talked yesterday with Gigi Rogero, he was talking about the power of the technology, and for example also this morning with Andreas Rumpfuber about cybernetics, and they can present the diffusion of knowledge in a more horizontal way, for sure, of course, but we have to be careful about how we use them, how we use technology, because at the same time technology can swallow us. I don't know how to say. I mean, we have to use it. We have to use technology, social networks, and so on in the right way, in an intelligent way. In order to, we have to be aware how to use technology and all these channels. I don't know if Salvatore wants to add something else.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We are just experimenting how the different ways to learn. No. So in these days we are about separating the Free University with the cyber university, we can say. We don't know, but another important tool for us, maybe the most important tool for us at the Free University, was conviviality, quoting Ivan Illich. So when we learn from the mass, when we learn from grassroots movement, it was only a relationship of teaching and learning, but was a real relationship, and we became friends. I don't know. With the SMS, we started a new project for the reactivation of the square. Here, this place is the headquarter of the next movement. So after 6 months, we started working here, and we activate a co-working. We are managing now a co-working here. So we became friends with those people. So I think that conviviality is for me
something basic.
Something basic,
super important.
And technologies are important to have easily reach everyone, but live together is another thing.
In fact,
I think.
One of the other things we are understanding in these days is that the physical part of a research and also of a debate, of a discussion, is very important, because we can meet together, we can talk like we are doing it now, but at the same time the physical relationship between the people are super important. This is why we tried for the first cycle of the Free University project, we try to do them in physical places, in the streets, in the square, trying to meet for real the people we wanted to talk. Then presenting them, broadcasting the talks online was another super tool, but in that moment was, I would say, I'm not if I'm wrong, but I would say it was like something secondary. I mean, the most important thing in that moment was to meet the people, reach the people, talk with them, debate with them, but in a physical way. And this is one of the most important things, because also nowadays, because of, not thanks to technology, but because of technology, we are becoming always more, I don't know, I would say alone, because we think we are connected to everyone, but at the same time we remained in our loneliness. I don't know, I'm thinking about, I don't know if it is related to what you asked us, but I would like to quote just a little bit Bauman, about what he wrote in the book, The Loneliness of the Global Citizen. I mean, we always think that we are connected to everyone, but at the end, if we don't have the physical connection, the physical relationship with other people, we are alone. We are in our loneliness, and this is, I would say, the death of the communication, the death of the debate, and the death of the citizens. And so the death of we have to use, in our case, for example, which are trying to develop topics related to the cities and the urban space and the mass impact on the city, we have to use the physical spaces we have in our cities, the streets, the square, and this is why we chose to develop the first cycle in physical spaces, even if we know perfectly that developing something also in internet like what we're doing now is super powerful. I mean, I think we are using now the technology in the best way.
Thank you very much, guys. I think by listening, I have echo. Do you listen to me good? Yeah. Okay.
Wait.
Now? Yeah. Okay. I think a lot of important concepts have raised up now. Conviviality is one that we have talked about accreditation, also about learning. I want to recall another book by the same author, Ivan Illich, that it's called Tools for Conviviality, that I think also it's very connected with the approach of all the 4 projects we have here. But nowadays, trying to revisit that book 50 years after it was written, I want to ask Alberto, for example, because I have been looking at following the project Ciudad, Escuela since its beginning, and I have this big concern about the use of budgets as accreditations. And now that we have talked with Silent University about accreditation, and how you transform these tools tools for conviviality into these digital tools that a badge or a sign of recognition gets you back to the, let's say, traditional systems of accreditation, because you need to have the badge to interact in one of the projects. So how, I just want to ask you and to explore more, why are you using this system and how is it working, and to explain a little bit more the system in Ciudad Escuela.
Sure, of course. So the badges are Mozilla's open badges. Okay, but so the way when we decided to set up when we decided that the kind of project, the kind of digital infrastructure that we thought was needed to measure up to the challenges that we were encountering in Madrid, we came across Mozilla's open badges. Now, Mozilla's open badges has been designed as an accreditation system for the digital age, but that was not the part that interested us. The part that interested us was the technology that enabled people to create pedagogical content about themselves and for themselves. So in a way, you could think of our project as a hack, as hacking the philosophy of Mozilla's open badges, because although of course once a badge is published, you could think of it as an accreditation system for the kind of knowledge or the kind of learning that that badge signifies or that stands for. Actually, if you think about it, when anyone can create their own content and can decide what kind of badges they're going to design and upload and sort of an exhibit to the world at large. So when anyone can produce content about anything, so the accreditation itself loses its sort of its significance and its meaning. And what's becoming more interesting is not that the badge as a symbol of accreditation, but the badge as a symbol of liberation. That is the content, the material, the educational tools that the badge liberates. So that's our take. So what we for us, Ciudad Escuela is not an accreditation school. So the badges are not there for people to seek accreditation on these or that capacity or skill or kind of knowledge. For us, what is interesting is that it provides an infrastructure where anyone can upload the kind of knowledge that is important for them and liberate it for others to take it upon themselves. So we kind of that's what we are interested, the side of the badges that we're interested in.
Okay, thank you very much, Alberto. This is, I think it's very important to, as the same as I asked to Silent University, to people really understand the step beyond or the step forward you are doing, because sometimes it can be like confusing to think in the traditional accreditation models, even if we are using new tools. So I think it's very clarifying. And now I want to go back not to our previous conversations, but to relate this roundtable with all other events that the program of how to share living knowledge has been producing this living knowledge until now. And just this morning there was a very interesting conversation with Andreas Rumfuber about immaterial labor, that it's super related with the use of technologies that Luca and Salvatore were talking about, that we are all the time producing contents and working, even if we don't notice that we are working. But going back to other kind of political realities, there are also another kind of exchanges that are not based in the monetary system, but they produce another kind of economies and another kind of exchanges. So I want to ask you, Isaac, if it's possible to explain how campus in camp works in that sense, if you only exchange like the relationship between let's say, students and professors and knowledge exchange, or if you have any interesting experience to share about outputs of the school. I don't know, for example, somebody who started a small business or a kitchen or something after following one of your courses or exchanging knowledge, to see the outputs that these new ways of learning and these new ways of pedagogies can bring.
Yes, I mean, one thing we have to understand about that we do work within a vision, you know, not a goal. And you know, when you work with a vision, you sort of come to touch different topics and sort of different fields, right? So politically and sort of academic and socially and so on. So it's pretty much much wide. But let's say politically is speaking, because okay, I have to sort of like explain something in order to get to, you know, have you guys understand best sort of the background we come from, you know, because, and this is very much also related to this discussion, because I hear terms or concepts such as public and citizen, you know, and you know, those sort of concepts are we always try to sort of define and look at, right? Because it's a bit also distant from where we come from. As refugees, because simply, I mean, you know, when you speak of a refugee camp, you speak of the extraterritorial, you speak of the space that is sort of curved away from the state. So we live in some sort of semi-autonomous, right? Though we have a sort of authority that's called the Palestinian Authority, but the relationship we have is as a host government, right? Because we define ourselves, of course, as refugees and so on. And also, this is related to, I think, something that the Free University mentioned, which is the communal learning, and you know, even the term itself, common, if I remember correctly. So, you know, one thing that we first came to challenge is to try and look at where's the public and private in the refugee camp, in the place where we come from. And soon we realized that public and private is totally absent, right? And it's absent in the social and political level. It's absent, of course, because the real estate of the camp, right? I mean, we live in houses that legally we do not own, but practically, you know, we sell and buy, right? And also public absent because, I mean, there's no official authority that sort of have control, we say, over the refugee camp. And therefore we came to look at the concept of a common, you know, the common. So we live the common, and when I say the common, I mean it's much more like practical than a designation. If you know, basically the term itself, the way we deal with it. What we do is pretty much we sort of combine between theory and practice, because the way we recognize ourselves, we are the community, right? So we express ourselves to ourselves, and basically whatever vision, whatever theory we create, we try to sort of materialize it. And when I say materialize it, this would be sort of the link between us and the rest of the community. You know, this is how we sort of talk about ourselves. And of course, we sort of reactivate things. So because you know, refugee camps are sort of very, very tense in a way. You know, like spaces are very, very limited, or empty spaces. So we constantly try to sort of like mark those spaces and use it for like let's say collective gathering. And what we do is pretty much we rename things. The challenge here is how basically you do not normalize the camp. When I say normalize the camp, it's pretty much blend the camp with the city, and this is politics in this sense, you know, because you do carry a political status. You know, we say the camp is the political exception. Am I confusing, or you sort of understanding what I'm saying? Because,
no, we are understanding. We are
understanding. So
please go on.
Yeah. So just to give you like an example, for instance, in 2002, there's a refugee camp, and opposite to it there's a city, and this city, it was built by the refugees, right? And they built sort of a pedestrian bridge, which is the only architectural element that connect the camp with the city, in order for the school kids who actually live in the city to come to the camp. And this was a very interesting sort of site to look at in the case of the refugee camp. Politically, first of all, because you sort of transgress the boundaries of the camp, so you get to the government site, if you know what I mean, right? And also this shows how politically refugee camps very much sort of active, and even sort of have control, let's not say control, but also have a word to say over the city. That, a city, you speak of sites that sort of represent, democracy, represent the government. This is how, even states define itself. So that we sort of we're trying to create in camps is to look at the possibility for the future, sort of instead of even like seeking to establish a state, but how can we sort of form a life, right, based on the experience of the refugee camp, based on basically the creation of political community, if you know what I mean. This is one of basically the aspects that we work with in campus and camps. Now, with the universities is honestly is much more than that, because it's very also challenging. The academic structure in Palestine is very, very difficult. It's all about ranking. It's all about sort of consumption. Is all about having a job in the future, which is very, very distant from the way we understand knowledge. You know what I mean? So it's for specific people, and it's all about, as we say, cheating. So it's sort of like force you to do something that has not much to do with your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes. Now talking about more contextual and site-specific conditions, I was thinking also this one goes for silent university, please, because I was thinking how difficult it is sometimes to contextualize certain process and to really explode this conviviality that was part of the previous conversation. And also two of the main approaches of the silent university is to exchange knowledge beyond the legal and language limitations. So being an asylum seeker in another country, per se, you have these legal and language limitations mostly all of the time. So I want to ask, and if you can explain to the people who is following the round table, how you face this reality, if you have a kind of a standardized process, or if you work differently in each situation, each city that you work on, just to go in deeper in these two topics.
Thank you very much. It's a very good question. Yeah, you're right, because it's the silent. We have a lot of different people with different culture, different religion, and different perspective, and different beliefs, and also the refugee. It's everywhere. Some of them, they don't speak the other language except their own language, and it's very difficult to understand. But the silent university was created for to cover all these barriers. For example, in Germany, we speak the German language, but there was some people who speak English, and they doesn't speak in German, and then we have a lot of translator that who speak a lot of different languages, and also some of them, they can volunteer to translate, or maybe to sit with the person that it needs, and then to explain more details about what the topic and what the discussion is about. So sometimes if you some of them you doesn't speak any language. You can just express your feeling silence. You doesn't say anything. You just be quiet and then listen. So that's what we do, and we have also different people. For example, our meeting, we meet twice a month, and then we have people who come from the Arabian regions and come from the Iran and Eastern Europe, and there's different people. So these people, the most of them, they speak English. That is quite well, and but some of them they doesn't speak in English, for example, or maybe with German. So we translate with them. So it's like a parallel languages. So to get the solution of this the language barrier. So I hope I answer your question. Yeah.
The microphone, Ethel.
Right now. Thank you. No, by the way, I was talking to you guys that another very provoking question that have emerged from your previous intervention, and also that it's related with campus in camps and Ciudad Escuela, I think is the way you work with the concept of the urban commons. Because somehow, we are working also in adhocracy in the research of the commons, but I have the feeling that from the past 2 years, especially, there is like a kind of commodification of that term, and how you really approach to this, going beyond that trendy topics, or if you have somehow kind of advisors, or it's a constant research and constant work in progress, which is good as well. I'm not saying that it can be bad, but just to clarify to the people how is your approach, because with the physical meetings in the public space, giving lessons there open to everybody, I think it's a very smart starting point. But then when you do this online experience, how you connect both of them and how you approach to this concept of the urban commons from your own experience and your own platform.
Yeah, it's strange at a conference at the Expo Gate. We streamed we present a slide called Facebook Pedagogies, and there were a post of you and you Ethel commenting about urban commons and saying that the urban commons are cannot be designed. So it's not about when we talk about a space, when we talk about urban commons, it's not about its quantity, it's not about the common usage, but the social relationship, the new way of social. Think about it. So in our university, when we do these lessons, we can try to do in a certain, and when we produce knowledge, I don't know, when we did a workshop of photography with Expose Collective, trying to go around the expo site and to do collectively the trip, the trip and a diary of the urban transformation. So it's about for us it's about the way we produce knowledge, and not of his quantity of. You want
about
to
the quality and how we produce the knowledge, and not about the quantity of what we produce. And always sharing the experience of production of knowledge. In fact, one of the most important things and one of the most important aim for this process, for this project, was to merge different reality in order to create a real common knowledge. And because we could present our, our point of view, we can present the certain topics, certain themes according to our position, but always again trying to be critique towards certain topics and certain themes. We felt the need of sharing the discussion with other people, and this is one of the manner, one of the way we try to develop the concept of commons, talking about the city and talking about all the experiences that we investigated, that we studied during the project, and at the same time we wanted to present them. Yes, the talks were physical, but also presenting them through the web, through internet. It is something that make it more powerful, make the creation of commons more powerful. I mean, in this way we can present in a better way what we're doing, what we are trying to investigate. And in this case also, coming back to the discussion of before, of some minutes ago, about the technology, I think that technology also in this case can be very powerful, but can be very helpful to create and to develop the concept of commons, because in this way what you are presenting can be, for example, commented, can be debated in internet as well, and for example, like a sort of peer-to-peer review, a peer-to-peer commentary review, and these make the concept of commons real. I mean, we are creating something that is mixed and that came from different way of thinking, different points of view, and this is one of the most important things that we are trying to do, and that we are understanding also in these days, that is important to focus on.
But on the opposite, doing these things on the web and sharing all for free, we have to ask ourselves the limit we will do for free these things, because sharing everything, I don't know, this is labor this is work we are doing for free. So we have to
be careful.
Be careful in these things,
and also
because
be aware also about it. Be conscious about the fact that we are presenting what we do, what we are trying to develop in a free way. That it is super, but on the other hand, we have to pay attention to the limit. I don't know how to say it, to the border which divide the free work and the monetize
and the commoning of the sharing of our knowledge.
Not to be materialistic, but because it is something super important. Because, for example, this is also what we were talking about with Gigi Rogero. I have the sounds come back. Okay, this is also what we were talking about yesterday with Gigi Rogero, when he was saying that, for example, some years ago in the University of Bologna, the university was presenting to the teachers contracts for free, because the teachers were, I would say, happy to teach for free.
Not too happy,
but they could say, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor, I'm doing it at the university, and the question was, how do you pay the rent at the end of the month, for example? How do you live? Doing everything for free? I mean, so in this sense, Salvatore, I think before was saying we have to be careful, we have to pay attention to the limits between commoning everything and the monetary part of the work, of the job. And it is a realistic point of view also, I think.
Yeah, by the way, I was thinking, listening to you, that of course commons never has meant precarity. So we need to avoid this discourse of precarity, scarcity, and how to really focus on what the essence of commons can be, and how to make a living, as I was saying before to Isaac, not only in monetary way, but in creating new economical exchanges. So perhaps this is a good question to Alberto, because when they start the platform Ciudad Escuela, at least from the outside, it seems that it's very well structured, and it has been developed from the scratch with a clear program and clear participants. And I don't know if also in economical terms, and I repeat myself, I clarify that economical I not only mean monetary, that could be, but also other economies. But if in economical terms you have a clear plan when you started, if it has been successful, or if you have changed something in during the process, if you can go in deep a little bit in this topic, Alberto, please.
Yeah. So when we it wasn't at all clear what the project was going to be. I mean, it was, as I said at the very beginning, the project was a conversation that a number of people who've been involved in grassroots community projects at various levels in Madrid and across Spain, a conversation we've been having over the past 4 years, and then we applied for money. We applied for an artist's residence at Spain's Contemporary Art Museum, Museo Reina Sofía. We got shortlisted and we got the award, and we used that money, which was 6,000 euros, to design, to crystallize that conversation and design the infrastructure and launch the project. That was 1.5 years ago, and what what we are now in a situation where we've opened up almost entirely the governance of the platform. So anyone who wants to design badges and wants to upload content can do it. And we're looking for money. So in the sense that, in order to keep expanding the project and think in new ways of extending it, etc. So we're applying in different calls, the European Cultural Foundation, and but it's a very heterogeneous. So I mean, there's nothing consistent. So I mean, it's 6 of us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, collectives, not individual people. 6 of us involved, and we respond as individual collectives. So if one of us is interested in a particular call, we just go and do it. If one of us gets an invitation from Colombia, and they want to, if they cannot do it themselves, but they want to put it out to the rest of the collective, they just do it. So it's a very, at this moment in time, we're a very sort of an amorphous structure which reacts and counter reacts to things as they come along. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Also, I was talking about the economy as well. I was wondering for the silent university, because the status of being illegal in any country doesn't allow you to get a proper work. So if you also have experience or accompany these refugees or asylum seekers to change their legal status or to use their experience as teachers to create new outputs to reach the system, let's say traditional system, or if you are creating a new system inside the community by yourself to avoid this like rejection of the system that excludes certain statuses, and to create this sense of community also in an economical way of living. I have no idea if you do so, but it can be very interesting to listen if you have any thoughts about that, Ismail.
Thank you very much. The economical aspect of the silent university, what we do is, as I told you, it's like giving the chance the people that it doesn't have the status. For example, when you do the asylum, it takes time in Germany to get the, and there's a lot of barriers. For example, when the person applies the asylum, he cannot work it, and he must wait, and they don't have any activities. So it's not the, we still underground in the silent university. But in Hamburg we still established this one in September 2014, and it's a little bit half year. And then but what we do at the moment is to give the chance with the refugees that they doesn't have they have the low barriers. So these people, they are also the part of the community. They also get the time. They also get some library to activate and read and to prepare the subjects and to do a lot of activity and to visit the other people. And it's also the community, and we do different activities. Not only the reactivating, but also we give the chance to make the workshops, free workshops. So also we do we also help them to build their capacity of understanding and maybe the how to integrate also the culture, because the people, it also very difficult to adapt the culture in Germany, and we also give the chance to we just held some workshops, and we invite with the experts, and then they change. They get the same possibility to ask the questions whatever they like, and also at this point they will learn more about the living condition in Germany, and also and also they get in barrel of the reactivation what they have been studied for. But still we doesn't have the much projects like implementing and maybe financial support and maybe the living condition and all this stuff. But at the moment we say, okay, this is maybe that things will come in the future, but at the moment what we do is to give our time, to give the more support, to show them that they don't feel alone. They have also, as a team, a group of the German, also not only the refugee meet, but it's also the community. The people in the silent university also, they are the Germans, and they are also like we showed them that we are one. And then that time they feel also confident about what they're doing, and also the free of speech, which just also give them whatever subject they found. Like for example, my friend, he would get the one of the concrete the subject like the slave, the colonial during the slave trade in Hamburg. It was sensitive, but the people, they get also and time to also ask the questions what they feel it, and it's like an exchange. And this person also feel like that he is also in the part of the community, not the outside of the community. It's I was just read some article that they say if you don't have identity, you are not human. But we just also give them that without even the identity that they can do a lot. Without also when there's a lot of low barriers, we also give them that they can also continue the dream. And even when they get maybe the identity, or maybe they allowed to get job, they can also easily go to the job market and do what they like to do. But at the moment, we just give them a time to prepare the subjects, to act, to build their capacity, and to be part of the community. That's what we do now.
Well, thank you very much. By the way, this relationship you mentioned between autonomy and the community, I think it's very important and can be somehow, well, I imagine, because I have never been in this situation, Isaac, but I imagine it's a very controversial situation in a refugee camp. How you manage the autonomy between the collectivity, when also in that terms we can say that the collectivity is an autonomous group. So all these different levels of autonomy, when they come to pedagogical experiments and to this kind of exchange, how you combine, how you manage this situation from the experience you have in Campus in Camp.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, we use a strategy called mouth to mouth. For example, one guy, he know that the silent first and all this stuff, he tell his friend, and his friend tell other guys, and it's like this way. This is the strategy that we use at the moment. But also we have a lot of people that who also live in the camp. Like we visit them, the camps, we sit with them, and then we talk with them in the camp, not in the office and the silent university. So that time the people, we express what we are and we explain what we gonna do, and then we get the possibilities to people maybe interested, and then we invite them to our office, and then we explain them more about what we do, and we also ask them that what they need or which position they need to take part of the silent university in Hamburg. So this is what we do, and the management, it's and also we use the media. We do a lot of activities, and the media also, they take also the part of the exploring and expanding. I mean, the expanding of the idea. So this is how we do the parallel. But the thing that when I said the silent university with the autonomous exchange platform, that we also have a very good connection with the universities. For example, the University of Loyola, we have been also sit with the student, and then we just give the student the time that they can ask the questions, whatever they like it, and then we exchange the ideas. So that's where we can get the community and the people who like to join the silent university, and this is also the part of the activity that the silent university in Hamburg do at the moment.
Thank you very much. And I want to ask a similar question to you, Isaac, because I think that for Campus in Camps, I can imagine that you face a kind of similar reality with the different levels you have of autonomy and collectivity in the refugee camp, or from one refugee camp to the other, if there is a feeling that it's the same community growing up, or which are the autonomous differences and how you manage to work in in all these different levels, as Silent University has this strategy of mouth-to-mouth. If you have any other kind of processes to make the balance between autonomy and collectivity.
I think I didn't understand probably your question. Can you a little bit elaborate?
Sorry? This question was for Isaac. Isaac, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting question. Indeed. Now, what do you mean by community and autonomous? Because when I say a community live in a space that has some sort of semi-autonomous. This is what I mean when I spoke about the refugee camp. Now, our role as campusing camps, first of all, it's very important that we understand that we do not propose ourselves as a model. This is very important for us, So we are more like, let's say, a group of people who do some sort of takes like more a form of experimental, So the outcome is something that is unmeasured. You cannot measure it, and also the process and the production works in parallel, right? But to speak a bit about, or to get back to your question is, we look at the differences between a refugee camp and the city, for instance, right? One thing you can notice easily in the case of refugee camps in Palestine is the social relation that exists in the refugee camp, which is something like we sort of sing for. So there is a sense of, your relation is with the person and with the space, right? And this is what we say, this is the sort of this is the knowledge for us. It's like the person in front of you, the space. So you live with a very knowledgeable, let's say, environment. While in the city, it's more has some sort of individualistic life. It's more sort of, there is someone, which is the government, that sort of manage the relationship between the people themselves and the space, right? Which is something we don't have in the refugee camp. In the refugee camp, management is something totally absent. What we have is self-organization. We organize our life in a way, and this is the community. This is how we perceive and understand, let's say, the community.
Fantastic, thank you very much. You put in the table another, I think the last concept we are going to discuss, that is that one of, yeah, come on, please.
Yeah, no, because I'm honestly, I am enjoying the conversation, but sort of each one of us is speaking about his project and experience, and I feel like, we are not really, let's say, interacting with, because one thing I think we should do is, I like to problematize each other work, because I like to, of course, hear some sort of feedback about, campusing camps experience, let's say, though, we spoke about it briefly, and we would like to be also critical about each other's work. And if I may ask quickly, and it doesn't have to answer now, Ismail, is what did you mean when you said, we try to help the people to adapt the culture, right? And I think you were referring to the asylum seeker in Germany, if I got to understand you correctly.
And you mean for example, the adapt the culture. When the refugee come in Germany, for example, they need the culture integrations. They need to know more about the living condition in Germany, because the people, maybe the culture also is different. For example, when I come from in Somalia and then I came to Germany, there's some culture that Somalia is good, but in Germany it's a little bit another way. So the people, when they exchanging the ideas to the German people, then they get some culture integration, and they just also get the chance to be learned and to be married, to live a better life in Germany. So this is what I mean, because the refugee, when they have time to exchange the ideas and maybe contributions and all this stuff, is still also they learn it, and then they can also better integrate. That's what I mean.
This answered your question, Isaac?
Yes, I mean, I don't want to steal the entire conversation, but I asked that question because I myself is a refugee, you know what I mean? And it's interesting to see how also one can look at refugees as someone who's, you know, wishing to normalize his or her status by becoming a citizen of a state. And I'm totally convinced that the most toxic form we have in today's world is a nation state, right? And you know, when you say refugee, I think you speak of the most revolutionary people, because he's the opposite of normality, you know what I mean? He's the unnormal, basically. And therefore, it's pretty much one of the rare people that still have the opportunity to decide for the future, to, let's say, produce a new form of living, you know, beyond what we have today in 2015. And this is why I thought to ask, you know, Ismail, of, you know, adopting culture, because even to say adopting culture, and I've been to Germany, I have some sort of, you know, understanding of the German life, and, you know, within it comes acceptance, within it comes, you know, and even the concept of integration, you know. I mean, this is basically briefly, and I'm thinking out loud what yeah, I had in mind.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's very important to create these connections between the 4 projects, of course. That's why after your intervention, I wanted to ask, for all the projects, it's the first time I'm asking the same question, because I think from the different contexts, it can give different outputs, but all really interconnected, about the concept of self-organization. Because usually the pedagogical experience have a certain structure, or you need to have schedules or the budgets in the Ciudad Escuela project, any kind of different structures. So how this concept of self-organization is connected with each of your projects? I think you can perhaps answer all of you to the same question one by one, because we are also reaching the end of the round table. So to create these connections and to remark the links and also the difference that we have seen along the almost 2 hours that we have been talking, I think it's very important. And also self-organization is deeply related with the topics of commons, emancipation, or all that we have been talking for the past 2 hours. So if you want to briefly explain how each of your projects takes this concept and develop it in a pedagogical way, I think it would be very, very good to summarize perhaps the conversation. So if you want, we can start with you, Isaac, that you were talking about this before, and then we can follow in order with Ismail, Free University, and Alberto.
Yes, definitely. So I will speak on the basically on the experience of campus in camps. Now, you know, we have some sort of method, or let's say a strategy of learning that we sort of follow. And when I say learning, I'm speaking about organizing ourselves, and that's what we call mujawara in Arabic, basically. And I don't know, maybe Ismail is familiar with the term, maybe. But mujawara is basically, first of all, it requires some sort of physical presence and face-to-face engagement. So it can't really be via, you know, any sort of other tool, you know. And the word itself, it means that you are part of sort of like like a community or a group of people, you know. And so it has like 2 main components. They said it has the person who is willing to learn, and to be part of, right? And it has the person who is also willing to sort of like share and be critical, right? And also there is the topic that you talk about. So this is pretty much Mujawara, and this is how we sort of organize ourselves. No one carry any title, right? We are all equal, right? And yeah, we just basically share our experience, and you know, like we also come from different refugee camps, right? And it's not really the program of campus in camps is not particularly seized on refugees, but it's much larger. And on that, we have also international sort of, you know, participants. We have speakers that we invite every now and then. We have people who come and sort of run a cycle. So there is this sort of like, you know, engagement, you know, and participation that touches different people who comes from different, you know, countries, let's say, different cultures, different backgrounds, and so on. But on the sort of case of a refugee camp, so each refugee camp has a body that we call the popular committee, and those people are never elected. So they are rather chosen by the community. So each refugee camp chose 7 people based on respect, based on ability, and so on. And the reason why we never elect is because we don't want them to take any sort of political responsibility, because this would sort of endangers the right of return. And the right of return is basically returning back to the origin, which is Israel, you know, in between brackets. And yeah, they are not sort of like managing the camp, but they are organizing the camp. You know, they are organizing the camp by, you know, like we do some sort of assemblies in NGOs, in sort of, you know, let's say common spaces. We talk about issues for the camp. We speak about services, how to, you know, do this and that. And this is what I mean by, you know, self-organization. Really, yeah.
Ismail, please, on the confrontation of self-organization and the pedagogical structure of your project.
The Silent University is autonomous exchange platform, knowledge exchange platform, and what they do is the most is reactivating the knowledge, the previous knowledge. And we have also 2 different main areas. The group called it the consultant and group called it lectures. So what we do is the lectures, yeah, people who was a lecture experiences in their home country. So these people, they will select one subject. So as a consultant, we build with them. We give them more support. We give the topic preparation. We also give the resources, and then till the day that they can present. So there's a group of people in the community, not only the refugees and the asylum seeker and the immigrant, but as a whole. All the community of the city, we was invited. And then they come also, and then the person, well prepared, he present what he need to present. So, and the community, they exchange with him his topic, and would be very interesting. That is what we do, the way reactivating, yeah. So, and also what we do is the other people that it's not from the Silent University, like the community, like the new asylum seeker, or maybe the immigrant, or the refugee. We also invite them to join our workshops. So that time they will get also reactivating and the capacity building as well, because they more learning, and for example the 2 weeks before we do the bias workshop, so that there's a lot of asylum seeker and the refugee and migrant who also come there. So when I say the people, they know the cultural, they adaptation. It's not like I'm adapting with the culture, but it's like I know it's better than I didn't know it. So the people, we have one expert with the bias workshop. So this guy, he was present the all different discrimination, and the person, he learn it and he know it, and he cannot answer. For example, if the refugee and maybe the asylum seeker and the migrant, they always face it some problems with the discrimination. But the important thing is to not show that you react, but with the negative reaction, but the positive reaction. This is what we also to build the capacity. And yeah, and still we do our more lectures. We have also plenty of lectures of this year. There's a lot of different people who's gonna be lecturing with the different aspects. So the Science University, what they do, I can summarize this in Hamburg and also in London and Stockholm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I will go first, guys, with Alberto. So we can end with pre-university, who are the host as well of the activity, because we are reaching the time. So Alberto, the same question to you, please, because also I think in Madrid there's a very important phenomena of self-organization in different communities. So, and also some of the collectives that are part of Ciudad Escuela has been engaged on these communities. So I think it's a nice topic to finish your intervention, in my opinion. So please.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. I mean, I think the question of self-organization, I mean, it puts on the table many issues. So, I mean, self-organization is as a project of emancipation, as a project of freedom. Are we talking about positive freedom, the freedom of that empowers one to do things, or are we talking about negative freedom, sort of freedom from intervention, from state, from corporations, from organizations? Are we talking about the power of invention? Are we talking about creativity? Are we talking about belonging and community and the capacities to sustain a communitarian and environmental project? So I think, you know, self-organization mobilizes and invokes all those ideas, but in any specific situation, it's a complex achievement, right? I mean, so, some communities, when they articulate their own project as a self-organization project, they start to realize that, of course, I mean, the accomplishment of self-organization is a diplomatic accomplishment. You know, you need to enter into negotiations even within the community. You know, even within the people that recognize themselves as part of the collectivity. You know, as they need to enter into complex negotiations about within the community itself, about rotas, about responsibilities, about time management, resources. So, you know, so I think the question of self-organization is a very complex question, and the way we have approached it in Ciudad Escuela is almost by omission, in the sense that I think what I mean, to us is, you know, it's a high question, right? I mean, who we're not, you know, we would never dare to think of ourselves, I mean, not only to provide an answer to what's the project for self-emancipation and self-organization today, but even to, you know, to open a space where that can happen. But by opening sort of by enabling a digital infrastructure where communities put up their own stories, you know, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is what we've learned, this is what we think other people could learn from us. That, you know, the opening of that space suddenly I think shows that the complexity, the complex ecology of practices that self-organization calls into existence today in Madrid or in those places where Ciudad Escuela is operating. So, for instance, just to give some examples. So we have the example of the network of urban community gardens that I talked about before. So it turns out that urban community gardens are relatively, it is one of the most common urban, going back to the question of the urban commons, well, I won't go into the question of what is an urban commons or not, but one of the classic examples of urban commons are urban community gardens. Well, it turns out that in their daily practice, urban community gardens have to negotiate all kinds of complex questions of tending the management of the land, right? Who's going to water the plants? Who's going to go and get some soil? Who's going to get, all right? They're getting into complex diplomatic negotiations with the local neighbors, right? We're planning to have a market this coming weekend and asking permission to, for waste disposal, for etc. And of course, they're getting into complex complex negotiations with local administrations, if only because up until a year ago, 3 months ago, they were illegal in Madrid. So suddenly you start to get, the sense that the idea of self-organization is not about simply, a definition of emancipation for and from the community's ideas of itself, or freedom for or freedom from, so positive and negative freedom, but it's about the fragile and precarious accomplishment of survival, and what that fragile accomplishment is for urban community gardens today in Madrid in 2015. If you put that next to what it means to the critical mass movement, so urban cyclists, and you put that next to what it means to squatter movements, and you put into each of those fragile accomplishments, if you realize that the kind of fragile accomplishments that urban community gardens, the struggles that urban community gardens are pushing for on a daily basis today, the struggles that the urban cyclists, the critical mass movement, are pushing for on an everyday basis today, the squatter movement, etc. For us, that self-organization is kind of, for Ciudad Escuela, is the possibility of opening a window to make those things visible. And I would leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Alberto. I love this ending of the possibility of open windows. So please, Salvatore and Luca, how you open these windows of self-organization, and also, please, as is the last intervention, how you think that this event can open windows to future knowledge exchange platforms.
Okay, so talking about self-organization, we want to talk about the state of redundancy we felt like when we did the Free University, and we feel like today and with this event. So because with the Free University is a self-organized program talking about self-organization. So there were always a test between theories and practice. So when we went at the at the public assemblies of the movement, of certain movement, we think about ourselves and how we make decision, we take this decision, and I don't know.
When we have to take decisions, as we are a self-organized collective, we use the assembly method to take decision, and also always because we are critique also in what we do and how we self-organize ourselves, we have to say that not always the assembly methods is the best way to also to take decision. I can for example make an example. Yesterday we were talking with Fictional Collective. They are 24, and they are not all architects. They are not designers. They are from different field of work, and they were saying at the end they were doing a sort of critique to their work and to their approach to the work, to the job world, and they said some interesting things. That one that is one of the most important things that they said was that they have just one thing that merge all of them. That is, for example, the name. Then at the inside this name, inside Fictional Collective, so inside the collective, they can decide, choose, and do what they want, because they know that being part of that collective, using that name, which they weren't sure to use the word brand. They didn't know if Fictional Collective can be considered also as a brand, but just the fact that they were using the name and that was their common ground, it was the main thing for their self-organization. We are part of these things, we are part of this group, so we can decide, we can move, and we can work on ourselves according to what we want to do. And it is also what we are trying to do as a collective, as ERAC is trying to do. I mean, dividing in different projects, trying to self-organize project, and the self-organization is for us also is a very complex and difficult point for our reality and for our development. I mean, we are always debating and discussing using, I don't know if it is the best way, in the assembly method, about what we want to do in the future and about how to develop a project. So we recognize also the self-organization point of view aspect in our practice, and again, studying, as Salvatore was saying before, studying other self-organized examples. For example, the mass movement of the No TAV, No Expo movement, or the housing rights movement, which are completely self-organized. And
so yeah, studying these movements, or for example, yesterday we did this conference about the Escuela Zapatista and the methods of organization of Zapatista movement. And this is another important issue, is the need to be, come si dice, efficace, the efficiency and the disorganization, to take time to decide and take time to discuss.
In fact, one of the most important things that the Escuela delle Escuelita Zapatista that they say is we don't want to present our work and that's all, but we want to invite you here. We want you to take the right time to discover what is our practice, what is Escuelita Zapatista, because as we were saying before, the physical presence is very important, and also having the right time to discover what is a certain reality is very important. And most of all in self-organized realities, because you have to understand how this process is, because at the end the self-organization reality is a sort of process. We talking about us, talking about our collective, we develop a sort of process when we have assembly, when we talk all together, and learning at the same time on our skin, on our experience, as for example the Escuelita Zapatista says.
It's always important to test theory and practice, and for example, Fictional Collective, for example, is doing the same. They started this collective, and now the collective itself is their project. So they are trying to understand what the collective have to be, and this is what they said yesterday.
You should be critical also on your practices. What we are what we think that we are doing. For example, with at the end of the cycle of the project, because at the beginning, as we didn't know anything about pedagogy, we started developing this cycle, and at the end, we look back to what we did, and we are critical to what we have done. I mean, if it was the right way to develop some topic, if it was the right way to present some topic, and because in this being self-organized means, I mean, on my own, I mean, according to me, means also not being sure if what you are doing is the right thing that you have to do. I mean, so you have always been critical in what you are doing, and doing a step forward, then a step back, starting again, step back, and then going on, trying to take the best that you have done and the worst that you have done for a future view.
Yeah, I agree absolutely with that. Thank you very much. By the way, I want to be self-critical before ending. Eugenio, that I've been calling you Luca all the time. This is one of the dangers.
Don't worry.
Of the dangers of being a collective. But well, it's just
I knew that you were talking with me.
Exactly. So, well, I want to say thank you very much to all of our guests. I highly recommend to all the people who is following this roundtable to keep up an eye on these projects. I will ask Irac to please tweet all the Twitter accounts of Ciudad Escuela, Silent University, or in Facebook that Campus in Camps has a profile so that people can follow their activities. And I just want to say thank you for this exercise of emancipation, of sharing open knowledge, and of learning by doing, because by listening to each other we are all learning. It's not isolated conversations. So thank you very much.
Thank you too for moderating, and thank you guys for participating in the conference.
And just
very much.
Just one more question. You haven't answered pre-university. You didn't answer how this event will be an open window for knowledge. So I will not intervene anymore. I leave you the word to end by telling all of us what do you think about it. And thanks again for the invitation to moderate.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, and I hope we can keep in touch, and then we can do more.
Yeah, but we'll let you know about everything what we have done in these days, and we're going to present you what we have collected. So let's keep in touch for sure. For sure, yes. Guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.